Yo, welcome back to another episode of Please Be Happy. Ah, I lost track again. I think we're on 14. 14? 14 sounds right.
Oh yeah, that's what happened.
I'm not surprised when Aspen doesn't show up for breakfast. Before I fell asleep, she mentioned that she was feeling nervous about her meeting and expected to be up for a while, and that she'd probably sleep in. I offered to stay up with her, but she declined, saying she'd rather use the time to prepare. She'd rather use the time to prepare. Her spot at the table is conspicuously empty as Juliet and I eat together, but I'm sure she'll show up eventually. I keep an eye on my phone for messages for her, even as Juliet and I clean up and start our days. I don't hear anything from Aspen. The library gradually gets livelier, and I have my hands full restocking shelves and filling out papers. Finally, some familiar faces arrive, although Aspen isn't one of them.
Be careful. If you drop it, we'll have to start all over.
I'm not going to drop it. You carry it if you're so worried. I can carry it if you'd like, Pippa. It's fine.
I can hear the three kids before I can see them. Their voices only getting louder when Armand pushes the front door open and holds it for the other two. Cello enters first, followed by Pippa, who has arms wrapped tightly around a box. They've come in every day since we visited the Bell House, so Pippa and Armand still remember me. I didn't explain my magic to them. They just chose to work up here.
Good morning, Ms. Mihu.
Hey, as a growing kid, you should really be getting your sleep. Cello can't help but yawn as she greets me.
Morning. Wow, you guys look exhausted.
Ugh. We are.
Cello and I stayed up all night finishing our project. Armand was only awake for like half of it.
You wouldn't let me touch the models, so why should I have to stay up?
You two, please.
Even Cello seems too tired to put up with her friends bickering today. They both huff but stop arguing.
It was a long night, but we managed to get done. Since we're going back home tomorrow, we wanted to come show you and Ms. Aspen the final version. She gave us a lot of advice at the Bell House.
And a lot of free refills.
Yeah, Ms. Aspen was super nice to us. Is she around?
Nope. I haven't seen her yet today. I think she had a late night too. I'll try calling her.
I'm going to go put this down somewhere.
Good idea.
All three of them go to find a table where they can set up, and I pull out my phone to give Aspen a call. It rings for a long time, and I'm about to hang up when I finally hear the line click.
Hello?
Her voice is so groggy that she was clearly still asleep.
Hi, Aspen. Sorry to wake you up.
Miho? It's fine. Why are you calling so early, though? Is something wrong?
Early? It's almost lunchtime.
Huh?
There's a rustling sound, and then I can hear her groan.
Oh, I was up so late last night.
You're telling me?
I remember. Did you get a lot done?
I got a lot of worrying done, at least. That's about it. But I'll be ready for this evening. I didn't mean to sleep through breakfast.
It's alright. Cello and the others are here, though. They finished their project and wanted to show you. But if you're too tired, I can just send you a picture or something.
No, it's alright. I'll come over. I just need a bit to get ready.
Okay. See you soon then.
See you.
I hang up and then let the students know what's going on. They wander around the library to entertain themselves a while we wait. Finally, the library door opens and Aspen enters, still looking half asleep. She manages to stumble in my direction, and I greet her with a big hug.
Good morning. Actually, Good afternoon.
Don't remind me. I'm glad to see you, though.
Same.
Miss Aspen, over here!
From their chosen spot, the three kids wave at Aspen.
Miss Aspen makes me sound so old.
She grumbles quietly enough that only I can hear her, but she puts on a smile as we go over to the table.
Thank you for coming to see us. Were you up late working too?
Something like that, yes. But not as hard as you were, it seems. Congratulations on finishing your project.
Despite her exhaustion, Aspen manages to use her customer service voice and seems genuinely excited for them.
Thanks.
Me and Cello worked really hard on it. I guess Armand helped too.
It was something the three of us all made together. But we wouldn't have been able to do that without visiting the Bell House.
I'm very excited to see. Is it in the box?
Pippa nods, and Armand reaches for it, but Pippa pulls the box out of his way.
Here we go.
She carefully unfolds the flaps and reaches in, lifting out their project. Both Aspen and I gasp when we see it. It's a tiny version of the Bell House, about the size of a shoebox. The walls look like they're made out of cardboard or some other material, and the tables and chair inside are made of clay. Even the stretch of road outside the cafe is included, with the benches and flags and everything else. The smell of fresh paint emanates from the display, along with glue and other craft supplies.
It's incredible. Wow.
Yeah, this is amazing.
Thanks.
Although Pippa sounds gruff as always, I can see her blush before she tries to hide her face. Aspen kneels down to get a better look, inspecting all the little details.
You even got the bell above the door. How cute.
It wouldn't be the Bell House without a bell.
Bro, these three kids put together a whole entire finished-ass Bell House in one night, and I can't even finish this bakery thing. There's an update video coming on that.
The plants, too. Great job, everybody.
Cello and Armand beam at the praise, and even Pippa manages a small smile.
Thanks for letting us spend time there.
And for all the coffee.
Of course. I remember the stress of homework and group projects very well. At least your group actually works together, instead of leaving it all for one person.
That's right.
Cello hastily answers, shooting Pippa a look before she can try to challenge it.
Thank you as well, Ms. Miho. We would have never found out about the Bell House if you didn't take us there.
No prob. I'll take any excuse I can to go there.
It's true. I speak from experience.
Hey, you're one of those excuses too.
Oh, I'm the excuse, am I? So it's the free drinks you're really visiting for?
Only sometimes. Sometimes you still make me pay.
Sounds like it should be always from here on out.
We both stare at each other for a second before slipping into laughter. It manages to push some of the tiredness out of Aspen's eyes. We chat with the kids for a while longer, swapping stories about Wellington and Amarina, until finally it's time for them to pack up and get going. Aspen helps Pippa carefully return their project to its box and close it up. Then all five of us head outside.
Thanks again for all your help.
Yeah, it was really nice meeting you. I hope you can come back to Wellington again sometime.
Me too.
It's bittersweet to think that after this time tomorrow, those two will have forgotten about me. I'm glad they'll remember Aspen though, and the Bell House, of course.
Yes. I wish we could stay longer, but I also miss home. It's kind of funny. I wasn't sure if I'd miss Samarina or not before we left, but now I definitely do.
Funny how fast that happens, right?
Yes.
Take care, all of you. You're always welcome at the Bell House again.
We'll definitely come back if we can.
Her two friends nod. Armand stoops down to pick up the box. I notice Pippa tense up, but she doesn't stop him.
Be careful.
I will.
Okay, time to go. Goodbye, and thank you again.
Goodbye.
Bye.
With a final wave, we see them off until they've gone down the path and disappeared from sight. Once they're gone, Aspen slouches, sighing and yawning.
That was nice. I hope they get a good grade on their project.
They better. It looks really good. Are you gonna be alright, though? You seem like you're about to fall over.
I'm fine. It was nice to have the distraction for a bit. Now all I have left to do is wait for this evening.
Wanna go in? Or are you gonna wait at home?
I'd rather wait with you, if that's okay.
Of course. I was hoping you'd say that.
Aspen holds out her hand and I take it. Together, we step back into the library and wait for the appointed hour to arrive. I sit on a bench with a book in my lap, pretending to read. In reality, I'm not even trying. I'm watching the plaza across from me, where Aspen sits at a table alone. I offered to sit with her, but she declined, saying this was something she needed to do alone. Still, she knows I'm watching, even if I'm too far away to hear. Pulling my phone out of my pocket, I slowly type a message wishing Aspen good luck and send it. From a distance, I can see her check her phone, and an instant later receive a few heart emojis in response. Just then, a stranger approaches her, and the two of them talk for a second before Aspen jumps up to shake their hand. Then, they both sit back down and Aspen scoots her chair in closer. They chat for a long while, enough for the waitress to come out and refill their drinks several times. From what I can tell, it looks like the agent is doing most of the talking and Aspen is mostly listening. Even from behind, I can tell when she's saying something because of the way she sits up and starts to move about animatedly. After a while, the agent opens their briefcase and passes some papers to Aspen, who stares at them. The agent stands, and a few seconds later, Aspen does too. They shake hands a second time before the agent pays their bill and leaves, Aspen lingering at the table. When a couple more minutes pass by and she still doesn't move, I get up and go to her instead.
Hey, you.
Startled, Aspen looks around before looking up to see me.
Oh, Miho! Sorry to keep you waiting. I was just...
It's alright. I don't mind. How'd it go?
The fact that I have to ask means I already know the answer. If it had gone as hoped, then I'm sure Aspen would be out of her seat jumping for joy.
It went... fine, I think.
You think?
Yeah. Shall we head back to the library? It's rather hot, isn't it?
Sure. Let's go.
It's not hot at all. In fact, it's downright pleasant. But I'm sure that's not the real reason she wants to get out of here. I lead the way, and although Aspen never lets go of my hand, she doesn't say anything either. The library still has a few guests in it when we get there, but we pass them by and head down to the dining room instead, only to find it's already occupied.
Oh, hello.
Hey, Juliet. Juliet has papers of her own spread out on the table, but she sweeps them together and tucks them away as she greets us.
Hey!
Still silent, Aspen distractedly sits down, already pulling out the packet the agent gave her to examine. Juliet gives me a questioning look, and I offer a tiny shrug in response. I assume we're gonna find out what's on Aspen's mind soon. There are two parts to the packet. The first one is huge, almost as thick as a book. It must be the copy of the manuscript Aspen sent in. The second one is much smaller, but still lengthy. That's the one Aspen focuses on. She reads over the document, which has to be at least a dozen pages long, if not more. Even worse, the printed words are really tiny. Finally, she puts both bundles into her bag, chewing her lip before speaking.
I think I can do this.
Do what?
Aspen snaps her attention to me, like she just noticed she's not alone.
Oh, I'm sorry. I spaced out.
Yeah, we could tell.
It's quite all right. It's clear you have a lot to think about.
Yes, well, hopefully I've got most of the thinking out of the way.
She slumps back, shoulders rising and falling as she sighs.
They said it needs a lot of work, which is understandable. I already knew that from all the rejection notices. I hadn't realized the scope of the issues, but fortunately they did. When I saw all the markups, I was taken aback at first. It made sense when I thought about it, though. They're a publisher for a reason, and as a first-time author, I want a publisher for a reason. So it needs a lot of work. A lot of rewriting, really. But they encouraged me to fix it up and then resubmit. They asked me to make my decision by Halloween, so I have a few weeks to think it over. But I think I'd be a fool not to do it, right?
Aspen looks at Juliet and me in turn, and from her knitted brows and small frown, I can tell Juliet is thinking the same thing I am.
You don't sound convinced.
It's a big decision. Surely you don't need to make it right away. Why not take advantage of the time they gave you to think about it?
I don't have to decide right now. But if I just let myself think about it too long, I'll never do anything. I've learned that the hard way. Besides,
Her voice drops, and face falls.
there may not be another chance.
Nonsense, Aspen. I follow her gaze. Tucked into her bag, near where the papers from the agent were stuffed, I can see the corners of several more empty envelopes. More for Aspen's collection. She catches me looking and nudges the bag shut with her foot.
I suppose you're right, though. I should give it a bit more thought. It can wait until after the weekend, at least.
Relieved, Juliet nods.
I think that's a wise idea.
We spend the rest of the evening together, chatting and having a good time. None of us mention writing or Aspen's book again, including her. Still, there's something in the way she talks and laughs, like she's only half listening. I'd hoped that her meeting would make Aspen feel better and relax again, the way she was on our date at the gardens. Instead, it seems like it's done the opposite. It's hard to see her struggle, and I wish there was something I could do. I'm the least qualified person to give Aspen advice on something like this. I don't know anything about books or writing or publishers. I do know how important writing is to her, and how many of her dreams revolve around it. I know how hard she's worked and will keep working. No matter what, I also know that it's something that she'll have to decide for herself, with or without advice from Juliet and me. Of course, I'll support Aspen no matter what she chooses. I just hope that whatever decision she makes, she won't end up regretting it later. By the time Aspen has to head home, she's perked up a little bit, but not enough to make me stop worrying about her. Still, she says goodbye with a kiss and a smile, and a promise to come by in the morning. Right now, that'll have to be good enough for me. On Saturday morning, I wake up around my usual time, but linger in bed for a while. I can hear the distant sounds of Aspen and Juliet having an animated conversation. Aspen laughs, then Juliet laughs. I don't know what they're laughing about, but I smile too. I just like to hearing my girlfriend laugh after all. No matter what kind of troubles are weighing on our minds. If she's able to laugh despite everything, then that's a win in my book. Aside from a couple hasty meals, it's been a while since the two of them have really gotten to spend much time together. Sometimes it's easy to forget that they've known each other longer than they've known me. Outside, it's shaping to be another beautiful day. There are clouds, but none of them are rain clouds. The trees and grass sway in a gentle breeze beyond my window. I've had more beautiful days here than I can count. Even Wellington weather at its worst isn't so bad from indoors. I open my window, enjoying the morning air as I freshen myself up too. Making my way silently to the kitchen, I pause, just out of sight, and listen.
I've given it lots of thought.
I have, but I still can't decide. Regina really wants me to take it, of course, but...
But there are good and bad parts of both.
Exactly. I feel like... I'm not sure who to compare it to.
No need to compare. I understand what you mean.
For a little while longer, I stay where I am, unseen. Not because I want to eavesdrop or spy on Aspen and Juliet, but because I don't want to interrupt them. I just want to let them talk. Maybe I'll do just that. Hearing Aspen express some of her worries and hearing Juliet offer words of encouragement reminds me of some of my earliest days here. Both of them changed their lives around to include me, which is something I'll always be grateful for. Still, I should give them a chance to spend some time with each other. Not because I feel unwelcome, but because that really hasn't happened since I arrived. Eventually, there's a moment of silence, followed by the sound of a cup being set on the table. I choose this time to make my entrance.
Ah, there you are.
Good morning, Miho.
Good morning!
I go into the kitchen and grab a piece of toast and an apple, but I don't sit down.
Sleep well.
Sure did. Now that I'm up, though, I think I'm gonna go for a walk.
This early? Well, it was quite nice on my way up here.
Yeah, I used to go for morning walks all the time, but it's been a while.
You couldn't have picked a better day, it seems. Enjoy yourself then, Miho.
I will. See you when I'm back.
For good measure, I wrap a couple more slices of toast in a paper towel and put them in one of my deep pockets, along with another apple and some packs of jam. I wave goodbye before I leave, and then I head back to my room to get dressed before stepping outside towards the road. Munching on my breakfast as I walk, I hum a song to myself that I heard on TV. I go in the direction of the ocean, same as usual. My days of aimless wandering really have decreased. I actually have places to go now, and people to see. A day without any plans is a luxury. I wonder how Chongying chose where to go on their travels. What first brought them to my forest all those years ago? Was it a whim? Or was there something in particular they were searching for? If there was, I hope they found it. I would have loved to ask. Would have loved to tell them all about Aspen and Juliet. More than anything, though, I wish I could have thanked them. Our time together was short, even by human standards, but it still meant everything to me. I take myself to Mount Victoria and start the familiar climb, but before I get to the top, I stop. It's only been a couple days since I last came here and saw Silver. Trying to visit her again so soon might be pushing my luck. But then again, so is trying to visit her at all. The lukewarm toast and apples in my pocket aren't much, but if she lives anything like I did, she'll still probably appreciate them, even if she doesn't say it. Instead of transforming, I stay on my 2 feet, heading in the same direction I went last time. I'm not too concerned about finding her. If she wants to be found, she will be. Keeping my eyes and ears peeled, I watch for a glint of silver fur or the sound of a snapping branch. When I finally spot her, it's purely by accident. Once again, she's in her human form rather than fox. With her back to me, she kneels at the edge of a patch of grass, attention focused on something I can't see. She doesn't move as I approach, although I'm sure she knows I'm here.
Be careful.
I halt, still a few feet away. At least she didn't call me a dog.
What is it?
I approach, delicately scanning the ground before every step. Finally, I arrive behind her and look down to find my answer. A bird, about the size of my hand, lies on its side in the grass. It's alive, but clearly injured.
What happened to it?
This one was blown from its perch in the tree. For whatever reason, it was too weak to fly. Now, its leg is broken. It won't be long until it dies.
Looking down, I see that Silver is right about its injury. It struggles to flap its wings, but it can't even push itself into a standing position.
Poor thing.
I kneel down beside Silver.
You were trying to help it, right?
She scoffs.
It is beyond help. Such is nature's way. I simply thought to put it out of its misery.
You didn't, though.
Silence. Before doing anything else, I reach into my pocket and pull out the food I brought with me, holding it out towards Silver.
Here. I brought you this.
She looks at it, but doesn't make any moves to accept.
What is this? Poison?
It's an apple. And some toast. It's not poisoned. I ate some myself. Ooh! And this.
I have to dig all the way down to the bottom to find the little pack.
Grape jelly!
Silver stares incredulously, like I'm trying to give her, well, poison or something. I set the food down by her knees and turn my attention back to the bird.
Let's get you some help, Birdie.
I cup my fingers together and reach for the bird, which finally gets a reaction from Silver.
What are you doing?
Her voice is sharp like a knife.
I'm going to take this guy back home.
I may not know what to do, but I'm sure Aspen or Juliet will. It's better than just leaving it out here to die.
Why? It's weak. Even were it to survive today, it's only a matter of time before something else claims its life.
So what? I'm sure that time still matters to it. Both of us can relate, right?
As gently as I can, I slide my hands around the struggling bird and scoop up the poor little thing. Its beady eyes look around frantically, and I can feel its tiny heart pounding in its tiny chest. I start heading back towards the library as fast as I can. Before I get very far, there's a noise from behind me, and I look back to see Silver following me. An empty paper towel dangles from her hand. Smiling to myself, I keep walking. When I step from the woods back onto the path, I expected Silver to have disappeared. Instead, she takes a few cautious steps out, looking left and right as if a car might come barreling down the mountain. Avoiding my eyes, she walks past me and keeps going, like she was planning to do this anyway. When we reach the base of Mount Victoria, she's a few meters ahead of me, and I clear my throat loudly to get her attention.
It's this way.
She stomps after me, annoyed at Wellington for its geography or something. What a tsundere! Her clothes, which are clearly meant to help her sneak around at night, stand out like a sore thumb in the morning sun. It also must be hot as hell. If either of those things bothered her, she doesn't let herself show it. I curl my finger to shade the bird as much as I can. It seems to have calmed down a little, but that's probably more from exhaustion than anything. When we reach the library, Silver trails far behind. I wait at the entrance, not sure if she's coming or not. I don't ask. She'll do what she wants either way. After a moment, she walks up the hill and joins me. I simply nod in acknowledgement before I push open the door with my shoulder, Silver behind me like a shadow. Within seconds, Aspen pops her head out from the dining room.
Ah, Miho, we were just...
Choking in surprise, Aspen's eyes go wide as a saucer as she notices my companion. She disappears from sight, and I can only imagine what she's saying to Juliet right now. Can Can we get a replay on that?
Ah, Miho, we were just...
Yeah. That. Oh, sorry, that's kind of funny. Behind me, Silver looks around in curious awe, although she stops when she notices me watching. I jerk my head towards the dining room and head in. Both Aspen and Juliet are there waiting, trying to appear casual, but by the way they're both silently staring at the entrance, I'm sure it's just an act.
This is Silver.
She nods at the ground and says nothing, displaying none of her usual venom or drama. It feels as if she's hiding behind me, which is something I wouldn't have expected her pride to allow.
It's quite nice to meet you, Silver.
Charmed.
I really wish I was doing this with my VTube model, because I have the stupidest, biggest grin on my face right now. None of them know what to say. I can't blame them. Fortunately, there's something more important to talk about.
We came back here because we need some help. Or at least this guy does.
I uncurl my fingers and tilt my hands for Aspen and Juliet to see. I doubt either of them have noticed I was carrying something. They both lean in to see.
What's this?
The bird starts to struggle again, probably because of how many more people are suddenly staring at it.
Ah, his leg. I'll be right back.
Peering at the little bird, it doesn't take Juliet more than a second to see what's wrong. She hurriedly departs from the stairs, moving right past Silver without a glance. Silver lurches to the side to get out of her way all the same. Aspen grabs one of the dish rags and folds it up to make a small square, and then sets that on the table.
Here, why don't you put him down on this? I read that it's best to put him in a box or somewhere enclosed, but this will do for now.
I gently lower the bird onto the makeshift cushion. Its eyes still dart around, but it doesn't struggle as much. I sigh over relief at being able to unfold my hands, shaking and stretching them out before washing them several times. Juliet returns soon with her phone in one hand and a small cardboard box in the other. Using a kitchen knife, she cuts a few holes into the sides of the box and puts it aside.
Miho, will you help me move him?
She carefully takes the two corners of the rag. I grab the other two, and we carefully lift it over the box and then set it down inside.
Do you think it'll be okay?
I keep my voice at a whisper, even though the bird can't understand our words. I still don't want it to hear.
I hope so. If not for you, it certainly wouldn't have a chance. I've contacted someone who will be able to provide better assistance than we can. She should be here shortly.
Is it a vet?
No, a contact at the nature preserve. She's rescued quite a few unfortunate creatures like our friend here.
I've never heard of a nature preserve before. What's that?
It's a conservation area on the north side of town. They have a bunch of protected land where they rehabilitate injured animals or ones that can't survive in the wild. I used to go there on class trips sometimes. One time we had a sleepover there, and I saw a kiwi.
She smiles fondly as she recalls the memory.
Whoa. I didn't know a place like that existed.
It's far from the only one. There are dozens more in New Zealand alone, of all different sizes.
Looking at the box on the table, I can't help but feel a little bad for our friend. He's probably never going to see his home on Mount Victoria again, and he doesn't even get to stay in it. But where he's going doesn't sound half bad. Like Juliet said, he probably wouldn't have even survived if he had been left on his own, if not for me and for...
Silver?
I only now realize that she's gone.
Oh, I didn't even notice her leave.
She's like that.
I go out into the hallway, looking up at the stairs and around the room for her. The front door is open, but only a crack. Something's keeping it from closing. Walking over, I spot something on the floor, jammed between the door and the wall. It's the gnawed core of an apple, wrapped in a breadcrumb-covered paper towel. Laughing, I pick it up and throw it in the trash, letting the door shut behind me. In the dining room, Aspen and Juliet are both seated again. It's far past Juliet's bedtime, but she looks as awake and alert as I've ever seen her. I sit down too, waiting for the questions that I know are coming. It doesn't take Aspen more than 2 seconds.
So, who exactly was that? Obviously, she was a Gumiho, but
I take a deep breath and try to think of where to begin.
It's a long story.
you know that's my favorite kind.
Nodding, I finally settle on where to start.
She used to be a fox, just like me.
When bedtime rolls around in the evening, I'm more than ready for it. Climbing over my bed to reach the window, I pause for a moment to enjoy the breeze. I've kept it open all day. As I reach up to pull it shut, the wind intensifies for just a moment. The flowers on my desk shake, and my scroll rolls off the edge and onto the floor. I slide the window closed with a dull thud, and then pick up the fallen parchment. And it's been a while since I've opened it, but I still know every crease and rough edge by heart. Unfolding it, I stare at the familiar but unfamiliar scrawlings. What would that guide at the museum exhibit have thought if they saw my scroll? Could they have read it? Well, they probably would have thought I stole it from somewhere. No matter what it says, I probably got more use out of it than Chongying ever expected. What kind of person gives a scroll to a fox? Then again, it was part of what made them so special. My phone buzzes, and I set the scroll back down as I see Aspen's picture appear.
Hey!
Hey, you weren't in bed yet, were you?
Nah, not yet. Soon, though.
Well, I won't keep you up. I just wanted to say goodnight again, and that I love you.
I love you too. But I don't mind staying up. Is everything okay?
I can hear the sound of Aspen's blankets, and an annoyed meow as she moves around the other end.
Yeah, I'm fine. I couldn't fall asleep, thinking about all the editing I have ahead of me. Today was nice, though. I'm glad I got to see you and Juliet. And Silver.
Me too. And the burn.
She doesn't like the name, though. Aspen laughs.
Right, and the bird.
Earlier, I told her and Julia about the other times I had met Silver, and some of what I've learned about my magic. I kept the details of her past secret, though. It isn't mine to talk about.
I'm sure he's very glad he met the two of you as well.
Yeah, well, I couldn't just leave it there. Even if it can't have a normal bird life or live in the forest. At least it's got someone to take care of it now. I didn't really do that much.
You did plenty. Many people would have left him to die, if they even noticed him at all.
Maybe. Yeah.
I also didn't tell her and Juliet about how Silver thought we should just abandon him, too. The reason I gave Silver for why I couldn't do that was true, though. Although I can't blame her for not believing me or understanding. Oh man. I gotta get it together. Someone saved my life once too, but Silver was chosen to die.
I thought that it should have a chance too. Even though it's just a bird, it's still alive. I'm sure people would have said I'm just a fox before. I didn't even know how to help it. I just hoped you or Juliet would. That was really the lucky part. That and Juliet knowing someone else to contact. It took a lot of people to save that bird, huh?
Even Silver, in her own weird way. I think she was glad it survived too. There's no response from the other end, although the call is still going. Just a faint sound.
Aspen?
I listen to the noise for a second and realize it's her breath. She's already fallen asleep. Smiling, I leave the call running as I set my phone next to my pillow and lay down. After a few seconds, the screen turns off, Aspen's photo disappearing as well.
Sleep tight.
2 weeks later?
Okay, you can open your eyes.
I take my hands off my face and look around. Aspen's apartment doesn't seem any different than usual, aside from being a bit untidy, but she stands there in front of me, beaming, with her hands behind her back.
Maybe it's a little silly to celebrate a 1-month anniversary, but I have a gift for you.
A gift?
Aspen laughs and steps closer to me.
Yes, although it's kind of a gift for both of us.
Slowly, she brings her hands around and reveals what she was hiding. It's a stack of papers. Too small to be her manuscript, but similar. She turns the stack so I can see the front page, which only has a few words written on it, short enough that I can sound them out.
The Fox and the Grove.
Yes, the title was supposed to be a placeholder, but I rather like it. It's a new story that I wrote. You can probably guess what it's about.
I flip through the pages. There's only text on one side, and a lot of blank space. Still, just holding and looking at this present makes my heart swell.
I can't believe you already wrote a new book.
It's much shorter than my novel. More like a kid's book than anything.
Still, that's amazing. I didn't even know you were working on this.
That's because it was supposed to be a surprise, silly. It's just working on all these changes to my novel. I needed something that I could write on the side for fun.
No wonder you've been so tired all the time. You've been working on 2 things at once.
It's fine. I'm fine. Once I'm done with the edits, everything will be back to normal. Spending time on this felt like a treat.
With a bright smile that doesn't quite hide the bags under her eyes, I wish I could believe Aspen when she says she's fine.
I only have a couple more days before I have to send in my revisions anyway. So by next week, I'll be able to relax again.
The area around her desk is messy, more than the rest of her apartment. Aside from her laptop and notebooks spread across it, there are empty coffee cups, loose sheets of paper, and wrappers from fast food and frozen meals. The covers on her bed are unmade, revealing the shoebox that's hidden beneath it. The lid is bulging with how many letters are stuffed into it. Noticing my stare, Aspen zips over to the bed and pulls the sheets down to hide the box, kicking some clothes and other stuff on the floor under the bed too.
Anyway, here, for you. I love you.
Aspen. I take the papers as gently as I can and hold them close to my heart as I lean in to kiss Aspen.
I love you too.
You gotta take better care of yourself, Aspen. Like always, the moment is way too short, but Aspen's smile looks brighter and more real when we part.
Go ahead and make yourself at home. I need to take care of the cats and do all my other after-work chores.
Okay. Let me know if you need any help.
Of course.
Another kiss on the cheek, and then she's off. On one hand, it's hard to believe we've already been dating for a month. On the other, it's hard to believe it's only been a month. It feels like ages since we said goodbye at the bus station. I've had that feeling several times since coming to Wellington, where the days feel like they're either rush by or drag on. Either way, they've passed, and I've been here for almost 4 months now. It's not the longest I've lived in one place, but I'm sure that at some point, I'll pass my record. I kick off my shoes and lay back on the bed, staring up at the ceiling with Aspen's new book on my chest. Everything around me has the faintest trace of Aspen's perfume, along with her ever-present smell of coffee. Blankets, the sheets, the pillows, all of it. Even out of the room, her presence is all-encompassing. From the bathroom, over the sound of the running shower, I can hear Aspen singing something to herself. I wonder if she knows I can hear her. Or maybe she's doing it because she knows I can hear. Although her singing voice isn't the best, it's surprisingly clear and stable. I like listening to it just because it's hers. Right when I'm about to sit up, one of Aspen's cats, I think it's Brian, hops up on the table on the bed beside me. I expect him to run away as soon as he recognizes me, but to my surprise he doesn't. He sniffs my ear and my tail, but then cautiously nuzzles my face.
Aw. Hey, buddy.
I reach out to try to pet him, but that turns out to be too much, and he darts away.
Well, it's better than last time.
I move down to the floor with my back against the bed, setting the papers in my lap. They're stapled together at the top, but I'm afraid of tearing or damaging them. Even though I know Aspen could print another copy, there's something special about this one. It's the one she made just for me. Make sure there aren't any other cats around who might cause any issues, and then turn to the first page. Oh, I gotta put on my extra special narrator voice, right? In the middle of the forest was a grove. In the middle of that grove was a log. It had been years since it had fallen. Once one of the proudest trees around, and now in death, was home to an abundance of life. It takes me a long time, probably longer than it should to read through. That's not just my slow pace with the words. It's also the memories that they call to mind. I can picture exactly what the log looks like. If I close my eyes, I can smell the damp grass and feel the breeze on my fur. Seeing Chongyin's words written out brings a lump to my throat. I carried them around in my head for so long before I even understood them. Now seeing them written down, they'll last forever. Some of the details are different from reality, and of course Aspen's book doesn't use any names. But it's still my story. Back when I first met Aspen, I told her I didn't have any story to tell. Now reading it back to myself, I can kind of see why she found it so interesting. Maybe there's always been more to me than I thought. Eventually, Aspen emerges from the restroom, her hair still wet. Spotting the papers in my hand, she approaches with a smile.
Hey, no dripping!
Oops, good save.
I can't let my favorite book get ruined after all.
Favorite book?
Yeah, I loved it. I really loved it.
After putting the papers on the nightstand where they'll be safe, I stand up so I can give Aspen a big hug.
I'm so glad. That makes it all worth it. I was worried I might get something wrong or forget an important part, but...
I cut her off, tapping a finger to her lips.
It was perfect.
Kissing my finger, Aspen smiles.
It's what you deserve.
Aspen goes to dry her hair, and then bustles around finishing up her chores before returning to my bedside. Leaning against me, she yawns.
You should go take a nap.
Yeah. Even without the yawning, it's clear that she needs rest and hasn't been getting much.
I can't nap. You're here. Besides, I haven't done any of my writing for the day.
Wouldn't you write better if you're not tired?
Exactly.
I haven't been not tired for years. And what about you?
Damn, Aspen, that's a little too for real for real.
What about me? I'm fine.
But if I'm asleep, then that's less time that I get to spend with you.
Keep together.
We're still together. It'd be the same as if you were writing, right?
You have a point there.
I sit down in her desk chair, blocking off her computer and crossing my arms. Melodramatically sighing, she lays down on the bed, but still faces me.
All right, if you insist. But only for half an hour or so. If I ever sleep, you better wake me up before you leave, alright?
Okay.
I have zero intentions of waking her up. Miho. I mean, me too, Miho. She gives me a doubtful eye.
No slipping out silently so you can let me sleep, or any nonsense like that.
I won't. I promise.
Removing her glasses and putting them on the nightstand, Aspen offers me one last smile.
Good.
Pulling the blankets up to her shoulders, she rolls over to face the wall. Is your hair still wet? It doesn't even take a moment before I can hear the shift in her breathing. She's out like a light.
Just like on the phone.
Half an hour comes and goes while I watch videos on Aspen's computer or reread the book she wrote for me. Of course, she shows no sign of waking up anytime soon. Good. She needs the rest. I won't wake her up, but I won't break my promise either. It's simple. If I can't leave until she gets up, then I just won't go. Okay, you are splitting the hairs on that promise, Miho. I entertain myself and time passes by. Byron the cat gets bold enough to try approaching me again, and Percy comes with him too. They sit down in unison near my feet.
Here, kitties.
Holding out my hand, I stretch my fingers as far as possible. They stare for a moment before one and then the other gives a curious sniff. Finally deciding I'm not a threat, they both rub against my leg, letting me scratch their backs. Their fur is soft and fluffy, like petting a pillow. They go back and forth around each other, suddenly not able to get enough attention. Well, it's not like I don't know how that is. Night falls, and even I start to get tired too. Aspen hasn't moved at all, other than toss and turn occasionally. I sent a quick message to Julia to tell her where I am, and then set my phone down next to Aspen on her nightstand, beside the printed pages. It all feels very normal, but in a good way. The little fox in her grove could have never dreamed of the things she'd see one day. Planes, phones, apartment buildings. All she knew of humans was a kind touch and a piece of paper. In some ways, the little fox never changed. Moving as carefully as I ever did in the middle of a heist, I flick off the lights, half expecting the sudden darkness to disturb Aspen, but she doesn't budge at all. Same goes for when I climb into the bed next to her. I wrap my arms around Aspen, draping my tail across us both. She moves slightly, and I curse myself silently. I must not have been careful enough.
Miho?
Her voice is less than a whisper. It's barely a breath.
I'm here.
Good.
Within seconds, she's asleep again. Before I myself drift off. There's a soft thump on the bed behind me, and then a second one. Something warm and fuzzy rests against my back, and then again near my legs. I crane my head to look at the cats. They're both curled up into balls, paws near their faces, just like their owner. Byron stares at me in the dark, probably wondering why I'm looking at him. Deciding he doesn't care, he closes his eyes like Percy and Aspen. Feeling more content than I can ever remember, I shut my eyes as well and drift off to sleep. I wake up to a sound from hell. It screeches and blares so loud that it hurts. My eyes shoot open in an instant, and I sit bolt upright in a place I don't recognize. Where am I? What's going on? Beside me, something moves. I stare at a pulsing lump in the darkness, and suddenly remember the answer to one of my questions. I'm so disoriented, I forgot I was at Aspen's. She rolls over onto her other side, not reacting to the sound. Instead, she looks confused for other reasons.
Miho?
I nod, too tongue-tied to know what to say first. Pushing herself up on one arm, Aspen reaches all the way across me and fumbles around until she grabs her phone. As she pulls it past my face, I realize it's the source of the noise. She presses something on the screen, and the sound disappears. With a groan, she drops her phone onto the blanket between us.
Time to wake up.
My racing heart begins to slow back down. It's just her alarm clock. Duh. I feel silly for being so panicked, but it really took me by surprise. No, Miho, I know when it's my alarm. I still feel panicked. Don't worry about it, girl. I'm not sure Aspen even noticed. She rubs her eyes sleepily.
I'm not still dreaming, am I?
I shake my head.
I don't think anyone could still be dreaming after that.
Why didn't... I didn't...
Her thoughts stumble off into a yawn, and then she tries again.
You were supposed to wake me up.
Only before I left, so I didn't leave.
Even half asleep, she still manages a smile. Rolling onto her back, she looks up at the ceiling with half-lidded eyes.
My day's already been made.
They're a cute couple, come on. The two of us are some of the only pedestrians out this early. A few cars and an occasional school bus passes us by, but for the most part, the walk to the library is quiet. When we get there, Juliet's already waiting in the kitchen.
Good morning, you two.
Morning.
Hello.
Go ahead and have a seat. The coffee's ready, and breakfast will be soon.
God, listen. Make my coffee black because there was enough sweetness last night.
Thank you, Juliet. You're a treasure.
She pours herself a cup of coffee, even though she already had two before we left her apartment. Girl, listen. I'm in no position to speak. But you really should just get a good night's rest instead of relying on caffeine. Ugh. Ow, what the hell? Moved my hand in a weird way. Ah, my wrist. Alright.
My pleasure. I'm glad to have a reason to cook.
Aspen nurses her drink, taking tiny sips while nearly dozing off against my shoulder. Juliet finishes the food while I spread out the dishes across the table.
Thanks, love.
Aspen mumbles as I set her plate in front of her. Even with the coffee, it seems like she may fall asleep at any moment. I'm not sure she even knows what she said, but I heard her loud and clear. What do they call it? A pet name? It feels really good. If Silver was here, I'm sure she'd have a bunch of witty things to say about that.
Do I make the really obvious joke here? You know, because Silver, like, calls Miho a dog, but, like, I totally think Aspen's the bottom, so, like, I don't need to go any further. I think you guys know exactly where I'm going with this.
As I finish setting up the table, Juliet brings a pot and a couple of plates of food. Breakfast today is oatmeal with some fresh fruit and a waffle with syrup. That seems to get Aspen perked up a little. After we finish eating and clear away everything again, she finally seems properly alert and awake. After another cup of coffee too, of course. I spent so much time with Aspen over the past day that when she stands up to go to work, it takes me by surprise. I'd forgotten she'd have to leave. When she says goodbye to Juliet, I walk with her to the door. Neither of us want to let go of the other, but eventually Aspen takes her first step outside.
Have a good day at work.
I will. Thank you for yesterday. And today. Even if I slept through most of it, it was nice to wake up beside you.
Yeah. We should do it again sometime.
Absolutely. After this weekend...
He searches for the words.
You'll be able to breathe again.
Exactly.
It seems like she might say more, but then with a small shake of her head, she gives me a goodbye kiss.
Bye, Miho.
See you soon.
I watch Aspen go until she disappeared from sight. I go back to the kitchen to grab a drink, and I'm surprised to see Juliet still sitting at the table. I'm so used to her going to bed when Aspen leaves.
Now you're gonna be extra tired too.
I sit down across from her, and she chuckles, but there's a real concern in her eyes too.
So, I wasn't imagining it. Is she alright?
She's...
Pushing herself way too damn hard? Yeah. Not getting enough sleep? Stressed out? Pushing herself too hard?
she's Aspen.
Now Juliet really laughs.
Yes, fair enough. From the moment she told us about that conversation with her editor, I worried that something like this would happen.
Which part? How'd you know?
Juliet collects her thoughts before answering.
Before we met you, that book of hers was all Aspen could really think about. Even when we discussed books by other authors, it always came back to her own stories. And yet, for all the conversation and all the advice, I couldn't begin to tell you what her book is even about. Could you?
I shake my head.
I don't know anything about it either.
I thought not. Do you remember a few weeks ago when she first told us she'd sent in her manuscript?
Yeah. She was going to surprise us with good news, but changed her mind.
Indeed. At first, she didn't want us to know until she had the contract in hand. In other words, until she was sure it's good enough. She feels she has so much to prove, not just to herself, but the world. Chasing perfection that's unattainable. So much of her heart and soul has gone into those pages that I can't help but imagine she takes every rejection personally. As a rejection of her, and not just her work. Because in Aspen's eyes, I believe they're one and the same.
She said that this could be her only chance, and that's why she has to take it.
To Aspen, who's only ever seen one pathway forward to the future, I'm sure it seems that way. Even if from the outside, to you and I, that so clearly isn't true.
There's a bunch of other stuff she's good at too, besides writing. Like running a cafe or doing research. Those are things that even I know are useful.
Slumping down in my chair, I stare at the small ring of coffee on the table where Aspen's mug used to be.
I wish I could help her. She's done so much for me. But it was all I could do to even get her to sleep.
I'm sure that your presence and care for her helped more than you know. In the end, painful or not, it's up to Aspen to learn from her experiences. After all, it's one thing to know something from reading it in a book or hearing it from someone else. It's quite another to live through and experience something yourself. You and I can't grow for her. We can be there for her. Sometimes, a kind word and the knowledge that we aren't alone can be the support that we need. The strength must come from within ourselves. Whatever choices Aspen is faced with, only she can make them. All we can do is offer our comfort and guidance. And Miho?
I look up from the ground, meeting Juliet's gaze. Although she's not angry or upset, she's unusually serious.
Don't forget to care for yourself, too. It's easy to get caught up in the euphoria of love, which isn't a bad thing. But just as you cannot live Aspen's life for her, you cannot live your life solely for her sake either. By all means, love passionately, and deeply, and recklessly. But don't forget to live for yourself, too.
I find myself on the verge of saying I know, but catch myself. Instead, I just nod, because I also know that Juliet herself has been through... Because I also know what Juliet herself has been through to find herself offering that advice. With a smile returning to her face, Juliet's serious demeanor lightens a little.
Well, now that I've prattled on for a while, I do think I'll get some rest of my own.
Yep. You go get some rest, Juliet. Thanks for the advice. It's good advice for everyone. I managed to smile back.
Sleep tight.
Thank you.
She starts to exit the kitchen, but as she passes me, Juliet pauses and then backtracks a step. They're gonna mention the necklace, right?
Perhaps it was just the light, but is there something different about your bead?
It's been that way since, yesterday.
Huh?
I hadn't even looked at my necklace today. I take it off to see what Juliet's talking about. Oh, what? It's still glowing. No more or less brightly than it was yesterday, I think. But turning it over in my hands a few times, I noticed something. Sure enough, she's right.
It's cracked.
There's a hairline fracture running across part of my bead. It's so small that at first it looks like an eyelash or a piece of dust. But when I rub my finger over it, I can feel the subtle ridge, as well as a light tingling sensation, like my fingertip is falling asleep.
May I see it closer?
I hold out the necklace for her, angling it so she can get a clear as view as possible. Of course, I can't let it go, or it would go back around my neck. Juliet starts to reach one hand for it, but then changes her mind, instead just leaning in close to examine. Finally, she shakes her head.
Unfortunately, I can't discern anything more than the obvious. Your magic remains foreign to me, like a book in an unknown language.
I can't help but be reminded of the scroll upstairs.
What do you think it could mean?
For a long moment, she's quiet. Even before asking, I know the answer.
I don't know. But I don't think it's coincidence or random.
Me either.
I'm sure the frustration in my voice is obvious. It's always questions, and rarely any answers. Getting harder and harder to push them from my thoughts. Rather than repeat our goodbyes, Julia places a reassuring hand on my shoulder.
I have faith that when the time is right, you'll know what to do. Trust in yourself. The same way you look at Aspen and don't understand how she undervalues herself. Slow progress is still progress.
I nod, and she goes off to bed. Progress. I just wish I knew what it was. I just wish I knew what it was progressing towards. Ooh. Well, ain't that a chapter, boys and girls, and everything else in between and externally of that? Yep. Well, I'll see you guys next time. As always, thank you for watching.
Let's meet again soon.